Hi and welcome to this Key Learning Initiative video. Today's topic is transformations, but specifically reflections over the y-axis. When we talk about reflections, we talk about what we would see in a mirror. We see a mirror image, and that's the basis of our reflections. Now, today we're dealing with reflecting a point on the y-axis. Okay, so there's point A, and hopefully you can see that point A's location is 3, 2. 3 on our x, 2 on our y. And we want to reflect about the y-axis, the vertical axis, the up and down axis. So how do we do that visually? Well, I call it the T method, and you'll see straight away. What we do is we take a letter T, we're reflecting it about the y-axis, so we put the top part of our T on the y-axis, and we extend the middle part of the T down to the point that we want to reflect. Now, let's have a look. Can you see that it is 3 units from my y-axis to my point A? So what we do is we take our middle part and extend it the other way by the same distance, which in this case is 3 units. That then is our A prime, and we've reflected that about our y-axis. Can you read off the location of A prime? Hopefully you can see that A prime is -3, 2. Alright, let's do a second example. Reflect point B about the y-axis. Remember, your y-axis is your vertical axis. There's point B. Let's have a look. What is the location for point B? Hopefully you can see that point B is 5, -1. 5 on my x, -1 on my y. And what we need to do is reflect that point about the y-axis. So we get our T. My top part is actually along my y-axis, and the middle part is going horizontally. Can you see that from the y-axis it's 5 units to point B? That means that we have to put 5 units going the other way from our y-axis, and that gives us B prime. Can you read off the location of B prime? Hopefully you can see that B prime is -5, -1. Let's look at our locations for point A and B, and then their reflections about the y-axis. What do you notice? Look at A and A prime. Look at the x values and then the y values. If you look at the x values, for A is 3 and for A prime is -3. For A, your y value is 2 and your y value for A prime is 2. So your y value is staying the same and your x value sign is changing. Let's look at point B. Point B is 5, -1. If I look at B prime, I have -5, -1. Can you see that my y value is staying the same, but my x value, the sign, is changing? So when reflecting about the y-axis, the y stays the same and the x value sign changes. So mathematically, x prime equals -x and y prime equals y. Okay, so let's write it in full. X prime, y prime equals -x and y, which basically means the x value sign changes and the y stays the same. Okay, that's what we've done here. Let's continue. So if I asked you to reflect a point about the y-axis, you don't need to draw it. You can actually just use the formula to work it out. Let's look at one together using our formula. X prime y prime equals negative x y. So reflect point C, which is negative 1, 3, about the y-axis. Let's use our formula. X prime y prime equals negative x y. So we substitute our C values for x and y into our formula, and we get C prime is equal to negative 1 and then 3. Have a look. Negative x, my x for point C is negative 1, and then y stays the same, which is 3. So C prime is 1, 3. Notice the x sign has changed, the y value stays the same. Let's look at another example. Reflect point D about the y-axis. Again, we look at our formula. X prime y prime equals negative x y. So now we substitute our values for x and y in, and we get D prime is equal to negative 5, 1. So thank you for watching this Key Learning Initiative video on transformations reflecting over the y-axis. I hope they've been helpful. Please join my channel or subscribe to it. Also, if you could like and share so that more and more people could watch these videos, it would be appreciated. I hope these examples have been helpful.